Okay, so next part is our core. So this is the second part of our elastic energy serve. We're trying to learn to serve with elastic energy. So part 2 is our core. We're going to learn a few ways to get this thing to go. When we go to part 2, we still try to use part 1. So I'm still trying to set up where my racket is going to be in the same position that I was doing it before, where I was doing the elastic energy here. The only difference now is I'm turning towards the court, so I am completely locking out my hips, so my hips are parallel to the baseline. And now, instead of this position, which is what we started with, right? So my arm was here when I started, but now if I do this, my arm's going to be there. So I'm not going to have it in front of me here, because then I'd have to do all this, which is not as realistic. So I want to start out here. I'm going to toss. I have the 2 balls. I'm going to toss, and now I need to stretch the core and then release the core. So remember how I said that your elastic energy, when you use it, your core is stretching, but then there are other muscles that are going to pull it back when it reaches its maximum stretch part, right? So when it goes to that maximum stretch part, you're going to use your pelvis, your hips, to bring it back. All right? So I go toss, and then right when it's reaching the end, I'm using the hips to bring it back around to serve. All right, hopefully that will make sense. All right, here it is. So I toss and go. So when I stretch and go, I am making sure, oh, I forgot, two. When I stretch, as this is reaching the end, I need to pull with the hip, so that way it rotates back and uses the full elastic energy of it. Now this part is still hopefully happening. It's still happening there. So let's really focus on getting both pieces here. I stretched and then I stretched. All right, here we go. Stretch, stretch. All right, let me use the bam bam rhythm. So I have the 2 and it's bam, bam. So right now the first bam is about my core, not my shoulder anymore. I already worked on that. It's the core. All right, here it is. Bam, bam. Oh, that's a nice one. So now, learning how this feels, and then you go into the progression. Do the progression that I showed you. So it goes, I'll do a quick one. So it goes short into the service box, at the net tape. So you start to do that progression with that core stretch. All right, now second part of this core stretch becomes you turn and you get to a 45-degree angle. So this 45-degree angle just starts to make it a little more realistic. And remember, we're not trying to get it in the service box. We're just swinging and hopefully it goes over. So now I set up in the same place. I want to put that arm back here. Remember, I'm not putting it in front of me like I had it in the beginning. I'm putting it away from me back here. So from here, I'm going back and into this. So let's do one. Oh, hit the top of the tape, but didn't mean it. I did not mean it. So that is your 45-degree angle. So we're just 45 degrees. The arm is straight out from the shoulder, okay? It's just lined up with the shoulder right now. That's the angle of it. If your shoulder starts to get tired, the lactic acid does build up, and that's because you're holding the arm up there, right? Now, during a normal serve, we're here and we're going, so we're not holding the racket up there that long. So if the lactic acid builds up in the right shoulder, you can always just let it rest and then practice it on the left side. So if I were to practice this on the left side, yeah. This is just to see how much of the understanding I have on it. So if I understand how to use elastic energy completely, then I should be able to go to the left side and not be great at it, but at least do it somewhat okay because I understand it. All right, so here it is. So if I go to my left side and I try to do the toss, core stretch, and this shoulder, right? The shoulder stretch. All right, here we go. Oh, fiery ball in my eyes. Stop it, son. All right, here it is. So, doesn't look as fluid, does it? But I know I did it right because it was going through with the flexibility. I didn't feel my muscles being overused. All right, so now we get to perpendicular from the baseline. Arm is here. Toss and go. Ready? Toss. And the stretch was there, right? Stretch was there. Stretch and go. You might lose a little balance here, but that's because you're rotating and trying to stay still to rotate back. It's a lot of momentum, a lot of moving parts. All right, here we go. Toss. And as I go through, again, I can go through the progression that I did going into the ground, into the service box, at the net tape, at the service line. You can try to do that through this if you need it, okay? All right, here I go. Let's do a few more. So it's bam, 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 bam. So when I start here and I toss and I rotate this way, doesn't look like I'm getting much stretching anymore, but believe me, I feel it. I feel it in my core. I'm getting the stretch. I'm tossing and I'm stretching. This stretch from here should put me in this position. So here it is. Oh, put it in the proper box, I guess. So right now it should really look like I am just getting this stretch in there, right? It was more stretching when I was facing this direction. It looked like more. When I get here, it becomes a little bit less. So don't be worried about that, but you're still working on the core stretch. Toss and go. And remember, all of this becomes a matter of just knowing how the stretches feel. Once you get that, then you move on to the next piece. So we got our shoulder, we got our core, next becomes the legs.